Implant safe in the wake of revelations that the major manufacturer of the devices, Dow Corning, withheld important data. The FDA has banned doctors from using them for 45 days. Joining me now to talk about it and about the concerns of the 2 million women who already have breast implants are Dr. Robert Torneby, Chief of the Division of Plastic Surgery at Cabrini Hospital and board member of the American Cancer Society, and Denise Dunleavy, an attorney who won a $4.45 million award for a woman who said that her breast cancer was caused by the devices. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Let me, you obviously feel like that the FDA's decision was wrong.
Yes, I do. Primarily, there just is not solid scientific evidence to back up another moratorium. They had a panel made up of physicians that examined all the issues, examined the data. While they did conclude that there was not enough data to say they are perfectly safe, there certainly was not enough solid scientific data to say that these are harmful, that they cause cancer, that they cause arthritis-like conditions. There simply is not the scientific proof. It's anecdotal, and it's simply not proven.
Okay, I want to come back to some of those questions, and I want you to talk to those issues. But first, tell me about the case that won $4.5 million.
This was a particular implant that was not only a silicone gel-filled implant, but was the one that was also covered with the polyurethane foam on the outside. And my client in this case in New York only had her implant for 3 weeks, and the doctor could not take the implant out when he needed to because within 3 weeks her tissue inside had actually grown into the spongy-like foam. We proved, and the manufacturer now has admitted, that the foam begins to deteriorate as soon as it hits the body and releases as a byproduct a carcinogenic chemical called TDA. The manufacturer says, well, it's only carcinogenic in animals. It's not been proven to be carcinogenic in humans, but the only reason they've never shown it because nobody's ever looked for it. Nobody has ever knowingly put polyurethane foam with a carcinogen in human bodies until this manufacturer did.
Go ahead.
And my client contracted breast cancer, and we showed to the jury that it was connected to the presence of the polyurethane foam. That case is about to be retried. There was a technical problem. The judge sustained the future damages of $1.5 million and has ordered a retrial on the past damages of $2.5.
And that's obviously by far the biggest award in any case like this.
Well, no.
No?
Just 2 weeks ago in California, there was an award of $7.3 million in a case not involving cancer, but in a case involving a woman who contracted an autoimmune disorder from her silicone gel.
Okay, I wanted to get the legal situation straightened out before we went on because I'd mentioned that in the introduction. What do you say to the points that Dr. Torneby raises with respect to there is no hard evidence that directly links and that the FDA may have made the wrong decision?
Absolutely not. The FDA made the right decision. The only reason we don't have hard evidence to show that they're not safe is because nobody, in the 30 years they've been on the market and in women's bodies, nobody has ever compiled data. And the FDA panel was not convened to look at lack of safety to try to prove that these are not safe.
And the manufacturers were the people who had the data.
That's right. The manufacturers were presenting their data to try to prove they were safe. Nobody to date has been asked to prove that they're not safe. We're doing it on a case-by-case basis in the courts, and that's really not fair after 30 years for the doctors now to say, well, you can't prove they're not safe. Well, the manufacturers have had 30 years to prove they are safe. Failing that, they shouldn't be given any more chances.
In reply to that, there really has been studies. There's a study out of USC examining over 10,000 women over 10.3 years, and there has been no higher incidence of women with breast cancer getting breast cancer with implants as those that in the general population that don't. So that's a fairly important data that I think has been overlooked. I think that also
the FDA has criticized every study that has been done as being inadequate, not properly planned, not properly followed up on. There have been no proper follow-up at all. If implants are to remain on the market, and I hope silicone will not, the only thing that can be done is to have a central mandatory registry so that every woman who has an implant in her body is followed. It's not done now. And the problem is, the reason we don't have data is because women were never warned by their plastic surgeons of the possibilities of these strange systemic problems, and they never went back to the plastic surgeon when they had a problem. they would go back if they had a breast problem, but when their knees hurt them, and when they had hair loss, and when they had rashes and became allergic to substances, chemicals they were previously tolerant of, they didn't go back to the plastic surgeon. They went to their family doctor, they went to rheumatologists.
And you think they were because of breast implants that they had those kinds of corollary
Absolutely.
problems?
Again, these are anecdotal stories. They've never been proven. They have never been proven in scientific journals or anything. There are 99 reported cases in the literature of, as you described, arthritis-like conditions out of the 2 million women that have breast implants.
Doctor,
Please
I
let me finish.
represent
You had
the
your
estate
piece.
of a woman who
May
died.
I finish,
I
though?
represent women who are on dialysis. We have seen, I have slides in my possession that I've sent to pathologists for evaluation from kidneys, from uterus, from liver, from ovaries, and we found silica in all these places in women who had breast implants.
These are very, very low percentage of patients that have them. There is no higher incidence of these arthritis-like conditions in women with implants in the general population. 99 reported cases in the literature. Number two.
Only
you
because
claim-
the doctors are only now, excuse me, doctor, but it's really
you
important.
keep interrupting,
It's only
if I- if-
because doctors are only now beginning to realize that these women might be right and that there might be a connection. They have been sloughed off, and I'm
if I can
sorry,
address-
doctor.
You've brought
but
up
they have
several
been.
points, but I'd love to address them and give you a chance.
I got 10 seconds. Can you make your point in 10 seconds? Hardly.
Not really, no.
All right.
Basically that, the points you brought up, plastic surgeons do follow their patients. We recommend follow-up every 1 to 2 years, and we care very much about our patients being informed, and we do inform them before the surgery.
Okay. Ms. Dunleavy, Dr. Turnaby, back in a moment.
But some of the statements that this young lady made. First of all, we do recommend follow-up with women with implants. We recommend follow-up every 1 to 2 years. We're very interested in that. I also want to make it clear that physicians are very careful and describe every reported possible complication or problem. Our position is this, that a woman is a bright and intelligent. American women today are very bright and intelligent, and they should be allowed to make their own decision. They should be informed of every possible risk, and on that note, then they should make their own decisions.
But doctor, if the doctors don't believe in the risks, how can they adequately inform their patient of a risk that they don't believe in?
She raises, you've had a chance to, let me just, she raised a very good point. If the doctor doesn't assume the risk, how can they adequately advise the patient? Is that the question?
Exactly. These doctors say it's not been proven. Are you adequately advising your patient?
A lot of physicians seem to take the position that you take, and if they take that position and don't assume the risk, are they going to communicate it to their patients?
Sure, we're not saying that the possibility does not exist. What we're saying is, here are the possibilities. Here's what could go wrong. Here's what also are the good points of the implants. They're an excellent tool for breast reconstruction after cancer. You take that away, you're taking away an important tool in reconstructing a woman's breast.
Doctor, excuse me, but I think that the cancer victims, women with cancer, are the most important candidates for an informed consent of all people.
We agree.
A woman who's
So
battling
do
cancer
we
does not
agree.
want to put anything that's potentially harmful into her body.
That's right, and we don't.
And I've talked to cancer patients who are my clients now who are very angry that they fought cancer and they opted for reconstruction because they thought it was safe, they were told it was harmless, and they find out now that it's not, and they've got another
It's not
monster.
proven, barrister. It's not proven that it is harmful.
Well, you talk
And
to
that's
some
the
of the
bottom
women
line.
who
You're
are
trying
ill.
this in the media is what you're doing. And the bottom line is that these people, you're right, they shouldn't be scared. And our point is, they've gone through a lot, and perhaps they shouldn't be scared needlessly until the facts are out.
It's
These
really
women
a shame
have
that we
fought
have to try
cancer.
this in the media
Yeah.
because the manufacturers have withheld information for many, many years. I have done a lot of work. I've been in the manufacturers' plants. I've read documents. I have thousands of pages of documents in my office.
This is a point that a lot of people have raised, that the manufacturers have had access to the information and have not provided that information, have withheld it. You don't deny that, do you?
I don't, as a matter of fact, I spoke with Dr. Kessler, and this is something that he is concerned about. And when
Concerned that the manufacturers have withheld data and information.
and
he
falsified.
would not come out and say that, but he says that according to Dr. Kessler, there has been some new something came about over the last couple of days that he decided to break this moratorium.
That concern you?
That does concern me.
And if there is that kind of withholding of data, isn't that when this kind of significant health issue is at stake? even though in your mind that a causal connection has not been proven, that it is at least pause, as the FDA has said, for concern and a moratorium until we find out more information? What's so important about continuing, plastic surgeons continuing these implants if there's at least a question?
As long as we come to a conclusion after 45 days, fine.
But
There's no problem
But you
with
just
the
said you didn't
moratorium.
support the moratorium.
I don't support the moratorium with the idea that the implants, that there's scientific proof that the implants are harmful. The moratorium, as he stated, is that there's
But I
new
don't
evidence.
read Dr. Kessler as saying that there
He's
is.
come out and said there's new evidence saying that there may be harmful effects.
Well, maybe.
Well, we're asking,
Right.
what is the new evidence? We'd like to know, because we are very, as physicians,
Dr.
we're very
Kessler-
interested. We're very interested in knowing what the problems are.
The
Let
new
us know.
panel-
Let us reply to that.
The panel,
Yes,
the
Dr.
next time, in the next 45 days, will invite, I hear, the doctors who are treating women with silicone-related illnesses who were excluded from the last panel. You know, there was a huge and very intensive and very expensive lobbying campaign by the plastic surgeon community who had raised $4 million as a war chest by taxing each one of your members $1,050 earlier this year, specifically to campaign to lobby for breast implants.
Let me ask you a
Big
question. just at a
business is
general
fighting
to me,
this.
this is my curiosity. I do not know the answer. You, as a plastic surgeon, do you do breast implants?
Yes, I do.
What percentage of your practice are they?
Between 10 and 20%. Let me tell you something, Charlie. It's not good medicine and it's not good business. We're not businessmen by any means. We're doctors. It's not good business to put harmful products in patients. It's not good business to get bad results, and it's not good business to have patients that are hurt by our treatment. What's good medicine is to take care of patients properly and try to get them back to being whole, or give them the best possible result that we can. So 10, 20, 30%, it's not a business for physicians.
And I accept that you believe that, honestly, and a lot of plastic surgeons believe that as well. But the question is, it's not good business to have a link between an operation and cancer and other kinds of
Charlie.
consequences. But if there's a question, isn't it appropriate for the federal government and the FDA to say, wait a minute, let's study this more, and let's get this data that may have been withheld by the companies?
I agree. However, what we're worried about is this further moratorium, giving the insurance companies an excuse to perhaps revoke payment of treatment for patients.
please,
who are
that's a whole nother
reconstructed.
I know it
The
is,
insurance
and
companies-
it's a whole nother night, too.
Oh, really?
Ms. Dunleavy, thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. I thank you for joining us. We hope we'll see you on Friday night. Take care.